So, you want to main Tracer.
Make that big boss less special. It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level. Second level.
Welcome back to another segment of our ongoing series on how to play various Overwatch characters. This time around, we'll be looking at the Overwatch poster girl, Tracer. Tracer is a nimble speed demon with some of the coolest abilities in the game. She's also one of the more prominent gay characters in any mainstream gaming series to date. Once again, our guide has been put together by Tracer expert TigratoPower. Remember, this is merely an introductory guide with hints and suggestions as to how to play the character within. So then, let's get started. Tracer's kit consists of her weapons, the pulse pistols, her abilities, blink and recall, and her ultimate ability, the pulse bomb. Tracer is an offensive character, and a mobile one at that. She has relatively fast movement speed, which is augmented by her abilities, balanced out by the fact she has little health. Despite having little health, Tracer can deal out massive damage courtesy of those pulse pistols. The pulse pistols are twin rapid-fire hit-scan pistols that are most effective at close to mid-range, but rather ineffective at longer ranges. One clip of these guns can eat a big chunk out of any hero's health, even through body shots, and short reload times enable Tracer to take out many enemies quickly within a clip or two. Repeated headshots from the pulse pistols are absolutely devastating, and can drop many offensive and support heroes within a single clip. Even without headshots, landing shots quickly and consistently will do good damage and build your ult charge rapidly. Getting good with the pulse pistols is only half the battle when learning how to play Tracer, the other half being mastery of her abilities. Tracer's blink ability allows her to zip rapidly in the direction she is moving. While the blink may appear to be a teleport, it is better to consider it as a short burst of movement, as you are not invulnerable while blinking, so keep this in mind when dodging enemy fire. This ability allows Tracer to move quickly around a battlefield, dodge enemy fire, and gain positional advantage. The blink ability also allows Tracer to reach areas she otherwise wouldn't be able to, as blinking allows her to cross large gaps, such as the Tigrato rooftops or the flanking routes on Volskaya. Tracer can hold a maximum of 3 blink charges, which can be used in rapid succession or spaced out. You can easily see how many charges you have in hand via the arrow icons right under the reticle. Hollowed out arrows indicate empty charges, while solid arrows indicate full charges. Regardless of how you use the charges, each charge takes 3 seconds to recharge consecutively. For example, if all charges are used, it would take 9 seconds for all 3 to be filled again. Now that we've covered the basics of blink, how do we use it? The blink is best used to cover ground quickly, whether to be a flank an enemy, group up with teammates, or grab a health pack. Don't be shy to use your blink, but always try to keep at least 1 charge in hand when engaging an enemy. If you run out of blinks and happen to not have a recall, you might find yourself in a world of trouble and no way out. Lastly, one of the keys to using blink effectively is to know your surroundings. Get to know the maps, especially where the edges are. It's all too easy as Tracer to pitch yourself off a cliff with a blink, which is both extremely frustrating and embarrassing. Similarly, blinking repeatedly into a wall will get you nowhere fast. When fighting in close spaces, know where your exits are, know where any obstacles in your way might be, and you'll become one slippery rascal. Tracer's recall allows her to do what so many of us only dream we could do: turn back time. In this case though, she only turns back the clock by 3 seconds, returning Tracer to where she was at that time. The recall also returns any health lost during that time and reloads her pulse pistols. If recalling to a moving platform, Tracer will end up on the platform's new position. Unlike the blink ability, Tracer is invulnerable while recalling. Also unlike blink, recall only has 1 charge with a long 12-second cooldown, so use it wisely. Recall is best used only in emergencies, where you have little chance of escaping death with your blinks, or if you're in a tight spot without any blinks in hand. Generally, after a recall, it is safest to disengage and plan your next move. But if you have an enemy or a group of enemies on the ropes when you recall, don't be afraid to turn the tables on them and finish the fight. Recalling is also recommended when using your pulse bomb, but we'll cover that later. When using recall, it is also important to think about where you might be recalling to. If you recall over a gap or into a group of enemies, you'll be taking a trip back to spawn, questioning your life choices. One last thing to keep in mind is that experienced Overwatch players will likely be able to predict where you'll end up after a recall if they've been following you. Keeping this in mind, it is not recommended to use recall in order to get the drop on enemies. It can be effective at times, but as stated before, it is the safest to save the recall for emergencies. Tracer's ultimate ability is the Pulse Bomb, an explosive device that is the bane of mercies across the land. The Pulse Bomb, as the name suggests, is a bomb with a small explosive radius. It can take out most heroes at full health, but will not do damage through shields, and will also be deleted if thrown into D.Va's defense matrix. The Pulse Bomb can also stick to enemies or surfaces, so try to stick it to someone when using it. Don't stick around after throwing it though, as the Pulse Bomb can damage or even kill Tracer if she's caught near the explosion. To avoid this, throw the Pulse Bomb at your intended target and immediately recall. Just make sure you don't recall back into the explosion and embarrass yourself. Blinking can also be used to save you from your own Pulse Bomb, but if you blink into a wall, you might not get away from it. It's best to blink up to your target, throw the bomb, and recall out of harm's way. When should you use the Pulse Bomb? It is best used against grouped up enemies. It's usually good practice to try and stick the Pulse Bomb to a healer, which will usually take them out of the fight or potentially draw out their ult in the case of Lucio or Zenyatta. Healers also tend to be close to their teammates, making them prime sticking targets. Combining a Pulse Bomb with Zarya's Graviton Surge can take out a whole team if done correctly. So if you have a Zarya on your team, try to coordinate your ult with her for some explosive results. The Pulse Bomb is also good to use against an enemy Torbjorn's turret, a Symmetra teleporter or shield generator, or a sentry mode bastion. So don't be afraid to use it against any of these targets either. Lastly, one of the key things to consider when it comes to the Pulse Bomb is how easy it is to build up. A few good clips with the pulse pistols will build up your ult quickly, so don't be afraid to use your Pulse Bombs once you get them. Just be sure to use it as effectively as possible. Now that we've covered Tracer's abilities and weapons, it's time to learn how to bring it all together. How should you play Tracer? In general, whether attacking or defending, Tracer is an ideal character for flanking. Her mobility allows her to flank quickly and also escape trouble if things get a little too hot. At the beginning of a match, try your best to sneak behind enemy lines and pick off enemies who are vulnerable. If you see a Widowmaker all on her own, unaware of your presence, crouch up on her, line up some headshots, and take her out. See an unsuspecting Mercy? Land some shots, go for the kill, and watch chaos ensue. Can't find the healers? Try lighting up a tank at a safe distance to draw them out. As Tracer, you have the power to throw the enemy off their game through some good flanks, forcing them to fight a battle on two fronts. If your team capitalizes on this, then you'll be winning some good team fights. If you find that flanking isn't working out so well, try grouping up with your team. Keep yourself near the front lines and pump out damage. Once a key pick is made, move in and capitalize on the chaos. Generally, you shouldn't have to worry about staying on the objective as Tracer, but keep in mind that the objective is what wins you the game, not kills. If your team needs help at the objective, help them. Deal out that damage and keep the enemy at bay, or sneak up behind and take out the threat. Also, Tracer is a hero that can contest objectives for a decent time due to her mobility, so keep that in mind if you're about to lose a point. Strategy aside, it is good practice as Tracer to know which enemies you can get close to, and which to stay further back from. Due to her low health, it's important to keep close quarter enemies at mid-range. Reaper, Hanzo, McCree, Brigitte, Reinhardt, Roadhog, Doomfist are just a few of the heroes that can take down a Tracer easily at close range. either due to their weaponry or their abilities. When engaging these heroes, try to keep them at mid-range. This will allow you to still deal good damage while also giving you space to dodge fire and abilities coming your way. It's also good practice to keep yourself moving with your blinks when engaging any hero. The faster you are, the harder you are to hit. The harder you are to hit, the longer you can stay in a fight and deal damage. As mentioned several times, one key of playing Tracer is to deal out damage, and lots of it. Not only will you suppress or eliminate the enemy by doing so, you will also build your Pulse Bomb charge quickly as well. Do damage, get Pulse Bomb, use Pulse Bomb against a key target, repeat. It's that simple. Don't be afraid to use the Pulse Bomb often, and don't be afraid to coordinate with your teammates to maximize its effectiveness. As mentioned earlier, Graviton Surge plus Pulse Bomb equals win. Lastly, Tracer will take time to master, so don't get discouraged if you're not so great starting out. As you play more and more with her, strategy and ability use will become second nature to you. Get comfortable with her control scheme, try out new tactics, find your flow, and have fun. In the words of the British bomber herself, keep calm and Tracer on.
It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level.